Alright everybody, welcome to episode 4 of the Ultimate Bobber Build, where we are taking my full custom 1997 Harley FatBoy and converting it to a totally different bike. Here's where we stand with the bike right now. You can see it's come quite a bit. If you want to see how I got to this point, go watch the previous episodes. Today's episode is all about cables and hydraulic lines. I know it doesn't sound very exciting, but it's crucial to the build. For a successful build, it's all about the details. As you can see here, my previous lines were a stainless braided material. They're silver. This was the front brake hose. This is the clutch. You can see here that my throttle and idle cable are stainless braided, and they're silver, and they just don't match the bike. So let's come over here and see what we have to install today. I got a great selection of hydraulic fittings here. Got slightly angled connectors, some straight connectors. Here I've got black banjo bolts, and here are the brake lines for the front and the rear brake. And then here is my throttle and idle cable from Biker's Choice. You can see they're all black. There's no chrome in them at all. That's why I chose these. I also have this hydraulic line bleeding tool. Because we're not essentially bleeding the brakes, we're having to start from scratch and get fluid through them. It's really hard to get fluid into a line that has no fluid in it yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to try that tool. I've never used it before, and that should suck the fluid into the line. I think the first thing I'm going to start with is this right here. This is the clutch assembly. There's a case that goes on here with the clutch line that goes up there. I think I'm going to try to install that first, and then we'll tackle the other cables from there. So let's get busy. A couple things I need to mention real quick is this series is sponsored by KURYAKYN, one of the world's biggest motorcycle distributors. Every mod I'm putting on this bike is available at tucker.com, so go check them out. Also, Speed and Strength is doing a big gear giveaway. 3 full sets of head-to-toe gear over on the Patreon site. You can be qualified to win one of these 3 sets for as little as $1 per episode, and there's not very many people in there doing it, so the odds of you winning are very high. So go check that out at patreon.com/motopilot. Alright, next up is the throttle and the idle cable. The idle cable is at the back. The throttle cable is the pull cable. So you can see when I turn this, this is the pulling cable. So this is the idle cable. So let's do the idle cable first, since it's at the back. These are kind of a pain in the butt to do. Get the cable detached. Just gonna wiggle it out. You know what, I'm gonna go ahead and pull both cables off right now. This cable is really tight inside this bracket. Okay, for some reason that was super tight. And then let's just remove, sorry if my hat's getting in your way. very tight quarters in here, so you gotta just kind of get a little flathead screwdriver and fiddle with it. Alright, so both cables are removed. The first cable we want to put on, this is the back cable because it's hardest to get at, so that'll be the idle cable. Reattach the cable to this wheel on the carb. Alright, so I got both the cables attached to the carburetor. So I'll just slide these into this bracket right here. If you grab the opposite end and pull it, slide it down. Why that's so tight in that clamp? I'm gonna open that up with a this slot right here has a groove in it, and maybe if I open that up with a screwdriver I can get that to go in better. It's just really tight for some reason. I mean, that's in better. That's in far enough. All right, so that's good. Now let's attach the front brake hydraulic line, and we'll attach the cables up here to the controls. All right, actually, before we go to the front brake, let's do the back brake since we're working on this side. So here I have my new black banjo bowl, a couple of fresh bronze washers, and my hydraulic fitting here. Make sure you put a washer on each side of the fitting. So you got your washer, your fitting, and then another washer. And then this just goes in here. We'll tighten that down in a minute. I want to get the line fully assembled before I go tighten anything down. And then we got our new hydraulic line here. Just thread this on like this. Beautiful. And that's going to come up here to our new rear sets. It's going to be, ooh, man, it's going to be tight. I might have to get a longer cable here because you can see here it's stretched pretty tight to get to the reservoir here, and it should come down and kind of feed in and come up. So I'm going to get a line that's maybe 2 or 3 inches longer for this, so we'll come back to that. All right, let's tackle the front brake now. As you can see, the fitting I'm using has a slight bend to it to bring it away from this fitting here. So we got our banjo bolt with our brass washer. Stick that together like that. Put that on there like that. Thread that on there. Just get it hand tight till we get the full thing assembled. Then we take our brake line. Snug that on there like that. Then I'm going to feed this up to the front brake lever. Alright, so now we want to hook the front brake line to the front brake reservoir right here. So I got a 90-degree fitting with another black banjo bolt. So let's put this assembly together. That's good there. And then the front brake line. You know what? I may have had these lines reversed. Maybe that shorter line goes here, and this line's for the back brake. Let me check that real quick. I think I had my lines backwards, so let's try this shorter line that was initially on the back brake for the front brake. It looks like it's probably going to reach. I'm just attaching this back at the bottom. With the reservoir, yeah, fits perfect. Okay. Alright, I just had those backwards. So that line fits perfect. I'll just tighten down these banjo bolts, and then we'll get some fluid in this and start pumping the fluid through. Alright, so now I'm attaching the clutch cable to the clutch lever. So this goes into this slot right here. It goes in there. It has to slide in from the end here, so just slide that in like that. The cable is not quite fitting in the, there's a hole right here for this cable to fit into. It's a little tight because of the powder coating. So let me take a rat tail file and clean that out. That's the thing with powder coating. It gets in all the nooks and crannies. Sometimes you gotta clean threads and clean out holes. I will say this though, my guys were really good about not doing that. This one instance where they didn't. Alright, it was that easy. So then get that in like that, and then right there. So this is what I was worried about. I'm not getting any spring action on my clutch. So I think I did something wrong assembling that case down there, and I'm gonna have to do some research on that and come back to it. But I got all this assembled here. Cable is a perfect length, so we're good there. So the only thing to do now is get the throttle cable and the idle cable hooked up to the throttle assembly up here and get some fluid in the front and rear brake. Okay, pain in the butt, but I got this assembly together because there's all these wires inside that get in the way. You can see here I have quite a bit of free play in my throttle, so all you got to do is take your throttle cable, and it has this adjuster right here. You just screw that out, keep taking it out till you get most of that free play out. That's pretty good. Then you just tighten down these lock nuts right here on both. I already screwed out the idle cable here, and just lock this down with a couple of 10mm wrenches, and throttle's good to go. And I had to take the front brake assembly off to make room for the throttle, so you just put this back on. Don't want to drop this thing, that would be bad. I have to say this 1997 Harley has the worst design for throttle assembly I've ever seen in a motorcycle, for sure. Biggest pain in the butt. I don't know if I like those cables hitting that mirror. Make noise going down the road. I might have to put that mirror on top, put both mirrors on top. I got these cool little clamps from Motion Pro. It's a little clamp that holds the two cables together. So let's put those on right now. So see that clamp right there? Very slick. I'll put one more down here. Hopefully when I put the headlight on this thing, it's not in the way of these cables, or they're not bumping into each other. I imagine this will just go here, off to the side, or up above. We'll figure it out. Okay, so I guess next thing would be to put some fluid inside these hydraulic brakes, front and rear, and try out that new device, see if I can get it to bleed the fluid through. So let's give that a shot. Okay, check this out. So I have this bleeder device attached to my bike. It's attached to an air hose, which is just attached to my compressor. This line here is attached to my front brake reservoir. I have the valve cracked open. Then I filled up the reservoir with fluid, and it's already going down because I started the suction. So what I gotta do is I gotta keep fluid in that reservoir because I already cracked the valve on the device down below, and it's already sucking the fluid through, and it's sucking it through without me even pulling on the trigger. So let me show you what I did. I just grab this thing here and I just barely squeeze the trigger and it sucks the fluid through. Now what I gotta be careful of is that I don't want this fluid down up here to get too low. You can see it's already getting pretty low. So let me add a little bit more. I'm actually kind of running out here. I didn't buy a new bottle. I think I'm pretty much out. But yeah, the thing worked great, man. I just attached that hose there, barely pulled the trigger of this thing, and it sucked the fluid right through down the hose. Thumbs up on that one. Okay, so I've taken the brake lines as far as I can because I ran out of fluid. You can see here I got the throttle and the idle cable nicely routed. Slacks out of the throttle, good snap back. That's how much fluid I have. I don't have any more I can add to that right now, but I got the brake line nicely routed here. There's a little clamp right here. Comes down into your front brake. That's all good to go. Back here on the back brake, I still need to bleed this, but I got my brake line, nice clean black line, down low going into the new rear set. So the next thing I can do in this video is I have some accent pieces for the bike. Check these out. I had these pieces just powder coated. Powder coating is awesome, dude. It's relatively cheap and it's stronger than paint. I had all these done for 20 bucks. These are the springs for my new solo seat. These covers go on the swing arm bolt, and then these 4 covers here go on the head bolts. And this is a cover that I think it covers the voltage regulator or something at the front of the bike. So let's put these covers on the bike real quick and see how they look. So one problem that happens a lot when you attach new cables is the cables are longer than the last cables, or the new cables are out of adjustment. You'll see here, this clutch has very little action. So what I'll do is I'll come over here and you'll see there's an adjuster right here that takes out the slack. So all I gotta do is unscrew this. What this is doing is it's stretching the cable to take out the slack. Check your lever once in a while to see how the slack's going. I can start to feel more tension here in the cable, which is good. So if I come over here and check the lever now, check this out. Hardly any free play. So we are good to go on the clutch. Front brake needs more fluid, back brake needs fluid and bleeding. The throttle cable and idle cable are good. So as far as cables go, that's about as far as I can go for today. I am having an issue here with this cover here. I didn't know how this worked inside here when I pulled the cover off. This cam, this is actually the cam for the bike, and these push rods push on the cam, and which means they're pushing down on this shaft. So these shafts were out of alignment when I tried to put the cover on, causing me all kinds of problems. I could not get the cover on. Then when I went to pull the cover off, it grabbed this shaft and pulled it out and pulled the these rollers off the cam. And now I need to probably pull some of this off here and take the pressure off these rods so I can push this back in and get everything lined up. So I need to figure that out still. I'm doing some research. I got this cover on for the clutch. Looks great. I'm really liking these black lines versus the braided stainless lines that I had before. So I think that's it for this video. That's as far as I can go. When we come back for the next episode, it's going to be all about taking the bike to the welding shop. I have a buddy who's got a fabrication shop. We're going to get the gas tank mounted, the new seat, the back fender, and the headlight. That should be in the next episode. Don't forget, everything I'm putting on this bike comes from tucker.com. Go check them out. And if you want to qualify to win 1 of 3 sets of head-to-toe gear from Speed and Strength, go check out the Patreon. There's hardly anybody in there. Your chances of winning are great. Patreon.com/motopilot. See you guys next episode.